guys, so it's a lovely relaxed Sunday afternoon and I'm just about to have a play with the new piano that I bought. So if you don't know the story, well, I think everybody knows part of the story, that America's gone a bit crazy at the moment. It's sort of going up in flames. And USAID completely disbanded, and they fund a lot of projects here in Rwanda. So a lot of people lost their jobs. And one lady decided to head back to the US, and she's just sold her piano. And it's a piano that I was actually tuning. I've tuned it a few times in the past, so I know it. And she sold it to me, which I thought was really, really lovely of her. She could have put it on general sale, but she said, no, you know, if you'd like to buy it, it's yours, for a very, very good price. And so what I'm going to do today is just check it over and kind of just give it a bit of a spruce up if it needs it. Because what I'm thinking of doing is renting the piano out, because I think there are a lot of people who kind of come to Rwanda on short-term contracts. You know, they're kind of passing through and they want a piano, but they don't really want to buy a piano, because if you buy it, you've got to move it when you move or sell it again. And you know, they're heavy bits of kit, and also pianos are pretty rare here, so I thought, you know, it's hard for people to find them and they maybe don't want to buy one, but they do want to have one for a short time. Rental business. So that's what I'm about to do. It's actually in very good condition. It's a 1940s Belarus piano in stunning condition for its age. Plays really beautifully. It's got a lovely little mute rail as well, so you know, you can play loudly if you want to, or you can play very quietly if you've got neighbours, or if, like me, you're practicing and you don't want everybody to hear all of your mistakes. So yeah, let's have a little look. So this is the back of the piano, and you might remember when I very first got it, there was some problems because there was some little screws missing. So when you tried to open the lid of the piano, it just slid backwards. So I needed to get that fixed before I did anything else. And my lovely, lovely, lovely friend Alex, who has been involved with the Kigali Keys project for a long time, he gave me a big bag of little screws, and they're exactly the right size. So I've put in some new screws and now the lid opens up perfectly. So there we go. That was an extremely easy job. Fixed. I've also got quite a cute little piano stool with it, with an adjustable height. So very, very comfortable, very fluffy. Okay, so it's a lovely piano to play, but, oh, I've got the mute on. There we go. Lovely piano to play. One thing I've noticed whilst playing is there's a little clickety-click going on up here. Where, there, you hear that? The clickety-click? So, no click, wooden click. And what I think is causing this is that the felt under here, which cushions the key when it comes back up, is pretty worn. If we look down the other end, which hasn't been used as much, you can see it's nice and thick. There's a thick layer of felt, whereas at this end, not so much. So we might need to replace the felt on that. Easy job, hopefully, she said, fingers crossed. Let's open it up and have a look at what's inside. Ooh, look at that. It's a beautiful teal colour inside. Usually that's just green or sometimes red. Never seen one that pretty before. Okay, the only thing I've realised is I'm going to need to find something to prop this up with. That's a heavy piece of wood. I don't think I just want to leave that resting. Need to go find a broom or something. Okay, so I've propped it up with a mop. It's got a nice squidgy soft foam part at the top so it doesn't damage the lacquer. What a beautiful piano. Absolutely stunning. Look at this, it's the original sales note. The lady who sold it, I think she said that was the original price that they paid. I think it might be that bit there. I need to go and do some research. But look at this cute little badge. How sweet is that? It's really, really a pretty piano. And again, I love this colour. The teal colour is gorgeous. Kind of matches this sort of grey blue string frame, which again is pretty unusual. And the other thing that I really, really like is these nice wooden poles here. I love pianos made out of wood. A lot of the modern day Asian pianos that you find, all of this is plastic now. Plastic and wires. It just doesn't have the same sort of feel. Right, let's take this off and have a proper look at it. So that's the top board and the full board off, just resting there for a bit. And this is the full inside. So next I just need to unscrew these so that I can get to the keys proper. So there we go, that's the bit of felt that's causing us some trouble. I'm just going to put the steamer on it and steam it off. And then replace it with something just a little bit thicker. You can feel it around about here, it's a lot thinner, very, very thin. Oh my goodness, have you ever seen anything like this before in your life? How is that natural? How is that even possible, Jazz? Crazy kitty. Ooh, looks like we're going to have some rain this afternoon. Goodness, look at that cloud, eh? Right, my trusty Black & Decker hand steamer. And it's got a nice little trigger here that if you push it in and hold it down, it just keeps going. So if I rest it against that and move it along every few minutes, I can go and do something else. Right, so the next thing is I've noticed there's a bit of dust along here. Got a slightly oily residue, so I'm going to take that out and give it a clean. And also down between the keys, you can see a bit of dust down there. So you know the drill, you know what happens now. I'm going to take up the key bed and I'm just going to give it a dust and I'm going to give it a wax so that the keys are nice and clean underneath. See if we find a pot of gold beneath it. Very unlikely, but I still hold out hope. And one other thing I'm going to do just whilst I've got the steamer out is I'm going to give the mute rail a little bit of a blast. It's just felt, so if you blast it, it just poofs it out a little bit. Makes it look brand new. So you can see after a few moments of steaming, it just peels right off. Very easy. And whenever you're doing something like this, if you're replacing parts, you need to use wood glue. Don't use super glue. Because if you super glue it, nobody will be able to change the parts again. It'll damage the wood when they try to take it off. Decent wood glue just kind of goes very soft when it gets hot. Okay, there we go, job done. Just going to give it a little rub down to remove those last little bits and make it nice and smooth, and then let it dry out properly. So we're just going to take the mute rail off, just undo a couple of screws here and lift this out. Not the most sophisticated, but I always find an old toilet roll is quite good for keeping hold of your screws if you don't have anything better. All right, so we're just going to lift out the action. There we go. Just popped it up here with the others. We've got quite a collection building up. All right, let's see what's going on under the keyboard. It's starting to rain outside. It's going to be a lovely Sunday cosy afternoon, just me and the piano. It's actually looking phenomenally good. There isn't a lot going on down here, just a bit of dust. And also, it's looking like it's been serviced, not recently, but the parts are looking good. So it doesn't look like I really need to replace anything. There's no rust on the centre pins. No rust on the front pins either. It really is in surprisingly good condition. There's a new string on here and I think I put that on. I'm fairly certain that I put that new string on. There's no rust at all around the pins. None that I can see on the strings, or maybe a tiny, tiny touch of it there. Let's give it the tissue test. It's always good if you're buying a piano, just take a piece of tissue paper and run it down to see if there's any rust. Yeah, there's a little bit on there. There is a little bit. But it's just, it's more sort of black than rusty red. So it could just be a bit of grime. That looks a bit more like just grime than actual rust. It doesn't look to the eye like there's a lot of rust on there. So yeah, really not a lot on the bass string either. That's just dust. Honestly, I'm incredibly happy with the way that it looks. Let's get dusting. Alright, the thunder is really going outside now. No rain yet, but it's on its way. We've done it. We've got a nice clean key bed, so now I'm just going to wax the pins. They don't really need it. They're feeling perfect. There's like no corrosion on there, no scratches. But I'm just going to give it a little bit of a lubrication with some beeswax. Yeah, I'm very happy. Look at that nice clean key bed. That's looking pretty good. Something else that I noticed that's quite interesting is that the inside has been, well, again, I don't think I can say recently, but definitely within living memory, it's been refelted, which is, again, really impressive because it means somebody has maintained the piano. And it means that I don't have to do that. So a bit like the wax, this felt just helps the key to slide up and down the pin really smoothly. And when that gets worn out, you need to kind of refelt it. So the key tops are plastic, and I'm just going to give them a little bit of a wipe down, a little bit of a clean, using a Q-tip to get rid of this bit here. So you can see on most pianos you'll have a little buildup of grime at the top of the key, and that's just where it sits underneath that felt that we're replacing, and the felt just goes across the top of the keys, and sometimes that can lead to a little bit of a buildup of grime, but you can just take that off. I use a Q-tip with some warm water and soap because it gives me some precision just to wipe that without getting water on the wood. You really want to avoid getting any water on the wood because that can cause the wood to swell. So just gently cleaning with a Q-tip and then drying it off. I noticed as well on the very lowest bass key that there's some writing on it. No idea what it says or what it represents, but I always love finding things like this inside pianos, you know? It's part of the history of the instrument. Right, well, I boiled the kettle to wash the keys and then I realised I wanted a cup of tea instead, so just gonna have a little tea break. What a nice afternoon to be tucked up inside, playing with the piano. As well as cleaning the top of the key, also watch out for the bottom bit. I'm not sure if you can see it in this light, but there's a little bit of grime along the bottom here, and that catches where the key goes down below the key slip at the front. So this is the key slip, and the keys go just down below it, so you get a bit of a build-up of grime there as well. There we go, all clean and beautiful. That looks very nice, shiny. So annoyingly, the replacement felt I've got is either too thick or a little bit thin. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to double coat it with the purple, because I think the purple will go much nicer with the blue of the piano. Not that anybody gets to see this because it's inside, but just if a little bit of edge is showing. So I'll put one layer on and we'll see, but I think it's probably going to need two. So just whilst that's drying, I'm going to take my little toothbrush and try and get some of this grease off the front. Shouldn't be too difficult. Just need to be quite careful not to get any water on the wood, stop the wood from swelling. Yep, this is coming off really easily. Just using a little bit of soap and water again. Yeah, that's coming off no problem. Very satisfying. There we go. Look how beautiful that is. Lovely. I'm just having one last little check down behind to make sure that there's nothing stuck or caught behind her mechanism. Nothing's given me any impression that there would be. It's always good just to have a little bit of a glance down inside. Yep, nothing in there, nothing stuck. No leaves or debris. She's good to go. I think we might need a little WD-40 on this. There we go. Put a little bit on here. Yeah, she's sounding beautiful. Let's have a little look down below. Ah, yes. Okay, we need to get a clip for it. There's nothing holding that on. Ooh. Right, let me find, there we go. That pole at a funny angle is the sustain pedal. Let me reattach that. Let's do a little bit of dusting whilst I'm down here. Oh, look at that, my goodness. Huh, that's an interesting design. There's quite a big gap between the soundboard and the back of the piano. It's not a problem exactly for the instrument, but it does mean that mice can get in very easily. This is a job that's easier for women because we have smaller hands, so they can just kind of pop down beneath the piano a little bit easier. There we go, that's the sustain back in. Let's just check it's working. Oh, wrong pedal. There we go. Perfect. Right, so I'm just putting this back in. The glue hasn't completely dried yet, but I just want to test whether or not it needs one layer of felt or two layers. Any clicks? No, no clicks at all. And there's a really cute little flash of purple in here. That's so cute. I think it goes really nicely with the blue. Isn't that absolutely delightful? So there's a couple of things left to do. There's a bit of a gap, a bit of a wobble on some of these keys. And I have a little tool to help me fix those. So we're going to do that. And then just to find, well, to order a catch for the underside so that the this doesn't fall out onto somebody and hurt them. I can order one of those from America. Might take a minute to get here, but we can do that. So other than that, I think she's perfect. I think she's going to be absolutely brilliant as a rental. As a rental and as a piano that I'm going to play when she's here with me, because yeah, she's really, really lovely. Okay, so this is the little tool that we need. Let's pop it in the handle. If you can get it in there. Oh, try and string that first. So we've got quite a big gap between here, these ones. Bit of a big gap, bit of a wobble. I'm just going to lift that up and adjust this little pin in here. There we go, that looks a little bit more regular. A little bit more regular and not wobbling. That's good. Okay, that was a really productive day. I'm just going to close it all up now. I'm happy with everything going on here. The only thing I need is a catch for underneath.